So in the last part, this is part 4 of the last part of my keynote presentation this morning at the Asia Pacific Summit in Singapore. If you go to slide 35, as I mentioned at the end of the last presentation, the last video, there's actually a lot of social data is very unstructured, and it exists in silos as well. Not just social data, but a lot of the other data that we have to collect and marshal and put together. So you see these siloed systems. Many of you here in the audience are in the IT side, realize the challenges of these siloed internal systems. Very much so, in many ways, the siloing reflects the different functions within organizations and the different vocabularies and priorities that different groups have. So in many ways, this isn't just a data problem, it's a communication issue as well. It's a structural issue. However, there still is the data, and the data is all over the place. And if you want to put it together and do some very interesting mashes together of it, you can use this newer NoSQL type big data sort of mashup capabilities out there, but you need to use more fuzzy logic with that kind of thing. And there's, there is not that many people that are data scientists that can really do it well, and we don't know what well is, So it's particularly a young field with, but yet they say in 2015 and 2020. You'll want to have, if you want to know where job security is, it'll be as a data scientist. However, it's not for everybody, and programming algorithms doesn't necessarily turn everybody on, and it's difficult to do it well. And it's, however, we often have a lot of these tools out there too. So these are, there are business data warehouse tools that are compartmental for different parts of the business. Those aren't exactly big data yet, but they could be looked at that way. A lot of times the tools, even in the social space, you use Radiant 6 or Sysomos. These are platforms to do analytics on social media, and you end up producing charts that look just like using the data that the system is presenting you, and then these are the real reports. So a lot of times there's a dissatisfaction with the platforms themselves are altering the data. The medium is the message. They are altering the data, and because we're not getting at the truth, we're getting at it as it's presented to us, so it's easy to work with. We also have a challenge in that if those platforms don't support the kinds of data cuts and the types of mashups that you need, they cannot be adapted so easily to answer the particular types of business challenges and problems you may have. And you may have chosen them without realizing that. And I think to a large extent that that's what led me, that kind of research is what led to writing a book on it. And I was investigating it and felt, gee, I should write a book about how all of this is out there. And it's really difficult to make any sense of. And anyone I talk to has their own agenda for wanting to steer me one direction or another. But what do I do? What do I do? The client do? And then again, there's no strategy for all this stuff. So now we go into, here's the plan. How do we deal with all of this? Okay, so there's a white paper I wrote with Compete.com, a company that does a lot of, I think they're owned by TNS now, but they do a lot of work with competitive analytics, mostly panel-based data. In this paper is where I first defined the role of, the concept of multi-level data. But in that paper, I also said that if you're collecting data, you also need to align it with your business strategy. So you need to know what your business strategy is, and then you have to be able to know how to link it together. It's not an easy thing to do. And then on top of it, I've written another series of articles at All Analytics, currently going on now, a SaaS-sponsored platform about just how difficult it is to avoid the concept of black boxes. That as we put together different pieces of our strategy, often we have parts of it we can't really measure because, particularly if we're using third-party vendors that don't want to talk about what's going on internally in the systems. And that's something that did a lot with in my own research. It's difficult to get at this data. Not so much hard for web analytics, but very still hard for in the social media space. And there isn't any organization that's really, sitting on everybody to make them do that. I think a good candidate for that would be the Web Science Trust. They have the most IP capital, but I don't know that that's where the focus is right now. Another thing that you need to come to is understanding the needs and the tools of various parts of your organization, and we'll talk about that in the next couple of slides. You need to address all of them. And then you have to have the audit, which is, well, depend on how complicated that audit is, or depending on the size of your business and what you're willing to the time you're willing to put into it. And then it's an exploratory type of approach, because you need to go in and find out what you don't know in order, and then you have to decide what I would do with it if I had that information. A lot of times people want to know what they would do with the information they don't know yet. And the question is, there's a tactical element to everything here, but when you're exploring, you don't know what the data is going to be. So you need to set aside some of your budget for exploratory purposes so that you can come to the knowledge of what you can do with the information once you find it. But if you don't know, well, then you have to chalk up that some of this work is going to be exploratory, and accept that in front of what people doing. And then you need to build a roadmap. And we'll cover that in the next couple of slides. And then once you get all that data, then you have to decide how to put it together into something. Right. So, but even before that, point zero is it's difficult to track what you're not looking for. Like a lot of times it's concept in art that it's ideation, but it's also in science as well. You look for patterns in the data, you look for patterns in the landscape, you look for things that you're looking for something, therefore you're going to find it or you're not going to find it. But it's difficult to look at something with no concept at all of what you're looking for. If you look at something and you don't know what you're seeing, you don't know what you want to get out of it, it's difficult to get anything tactical out of it. And I think a lot of things that are tactical, such as the programming around nuclear power plants, or say disc brakes in a car, as been pointed out, many other tactical readouts come from a very precise line of reasoning of how you're going to, what you're looking for, how you're going to structure it, what you're going to do with it. A lot of the data isn't really looked at that way, and so I think we need to go back and say, what are the things you want to get? What decisions would you make differently if you had that information, and what's the threshold, whether it's good or bad? In a lot of cases, people might not know what that threshold is, so then you have to work with that until they get to that, which means that you have to have this kind of dialogue with the right people in the room to have that dialogue with. You have to have a company and client that realizes they're mature enough that they want that. It may not everybody's ready for that yet, and they just want to explore. But they may not want to really be tactical. So there's obviously room for both. There's a left brain and a right brain. There's room for both, but it needs to be balanced and need to be working together. And then finally, if we look at slide 38, here's an example of a plan, that measurement aligned business goals. This is a plan that actually tells you, how you can do a business management strategy. It came from a site called Tactic Cluster. I don't know the name of it, but the issue here is I took this and I said, well, how much of this is actually trackable? So if you look at my final point, don't do it now, later. You can see that a lot of things you could track, but there are parts here that are ultraviolet, or they're not trackable. And then even the things you can track, are you? So there's a lot there. And I think people take that for granted. And if we go to the next slide, we talk about the understanding of different needs of different parts of your organization, marketers, PR comms, research, and enterprise. And I think in this room, we'll probably have a mix of all of those people. And I think what we'll realize is all of them use different tools. And in many cases, the reports that they get are going to be different, and they're going to be looking for different things. So trying to create a report that all of them can use is probably not possible. I mean, if you look at the differences between the enterprise EIS, Accenture, WebSphere, research, panel, PR comms, and marketers, the focus even of what these people are looking for is different. So it's very difficult to see how you could have one report And even the way the data is presented is probably different. The research and the EIS people don't mind dense packed slides. The market is in PR com, like a lot of white space. So it's challenging. We have to obviously surmount it. And then we have to do the audit itself. And the audit's not an easy thing to do, depending on the complexity. Do you have the data? Do you understand what is it usable? Not it's ultraviolet. And then you need to create the roadmap. And that's a very important thing. And in the book, I use a case study with the core hotel chain that really talks about the fact that at the end of that, they found out that what would have made things better was a roadmap, but they didn't have one that everybody could see. Once you decide on something that's going to be implemented, you have to have a way of saying, well, if this is going to happen then, and this is going to happen then, this is called project planning, right? But the thing is, you have to get certain parts done at certain periods in order, and you have to know what the outputs are, and you have to figure out what the timing is going to be, and this roadmap needs to be a roadmap that doesn't have too much ultraviolet in it if you can. I mean, the best thing is to flesh it out ahead of time, and then finally, you want to build this dashboarding and enablement capability. Once you've got that data, then you can kind of build whatever dashboards you want. Hopefully they'll be tactical ones. And that will come out of the tactical line of reasoning that we mentioned earlier. And then finally, if you want to contact me to know any more of this or talk to me about consulting services around this, I'm here today and I'll be signing books in the back. So look forward to talking to you and hopefully come up and you can buy a copy of the book. And it's Marshall Sponder in Singapore signing out. Cheers.